So good morning students of class 9. So welcome back to the classes now. Let's continue our lesson in economics. People as resource. We are doing this chapter and is the title of the chapter. And here there are altogether 8 points. Now let's go through this one by one and pay attention carefully. You can copy it out later on. First listen carefully. Here, in the case of disguised unemployment, in our previous class we have learned about disguised unemployment in the primary sector, especially in the farmlands. People appear to be employed. People appear to be employed, or people appear that they are working. But the output doesn't increase, but their output, once they work there in the field along with other people, the output of the farm will not increase. Suppose a work requires 5 people. Suppose a work in the field requires 5 people, but it engages 8 people, family members, especially in the small farm, small families. The land requires 5 people to work and produce food grains. Suppose if the whole family of 8 engages, 3 persons are extra. These 3 persons are extra. If you remove them, the production will not go down. So the contribution means workforce, the labor provided by these 3 extra. The contribution made by 3 people does not add the productivity. The contribution made by these 3 people will not add in the productivity. The productivity will not increase. Or output. The output will not increase. If they are removed, if these 3 people are removed from the field, the output does not go down or decline. The output will also not go down. It remains the same. These 3 persons are disguised unemployed. So these now you have understood very clearly. These 3 persons are disguised unemployed because if they work there, the output does not increase. If they are removed, the output will not go down. It remains the same, stable. So the employment structure, we are talking about employment structure, is characterized, you see that it is by self-employment in the primary sector. We have learned already, in the primary sector, many people in the rural areas, they are self-employed. They do business, or they keep animal husbandry, or beekeeping, or fisheries. So in this way they are self-employed in the primary sector, as well as disguised unemployment. You will find disguised unemployment in the primary sector, in the agricultural sector. So in the primary sector. So here this, you can see that disguised unemployment is also there. And many people, they are self-employed. Agriculture is the most labor consuming sector. Agricultural sector, yani you can say primary sector. Primary sector is the most labor consuming sector. You need a lot of labor in order to cut the harvest, in order to thresh the harvest, in order to sow, or in order to put irrigations or weeding, look after the field. So you need a lot of labor. So it is a labor consuming sector, primary sector you can say that, of the economy. And we know that in our country most of the people are farmers. Many people moved out to work in secondary and tertiary. Who moved out? Now listen carefully. Who moved out from this primary sector? The disguised unemployed. These disguised unemployed people, they moved out from primary sector and they work in secondary or tertiary sector. Because if they come out from the primary sector, the output will not go down. It doesn't make a difference. So these extra people, they moved out from the villages, from primary sector, and they started working in the secondary, that is manufacturing, in the industries, and in territory sector, the service sector. Territory means service sector, whether they may be a driver, they may started a business somewhere in the markets. In this way, these these guys unemployed people, they move towards secondary and tertiary from primary. Secondary sector is the most labor consuming sector after primary sector. You can say that this is the second. The most labors are required in primary sector, in the farming first, and second in the secondary sector, that is in manufacturing, that is in industries, all kinds of industries, big, small, cottage industries. It is the most labor consuming sector. Manufacturing sector, you can say that secondary and manufacturing is the same thing. Absorbing sector after primary sector. So these two, primary and secondary sectors, are labor absorbing. They absorb labor. More people are employed. Now we'll talk about territory sector. The territory sector, new services are now appearing. According to the changing world, according to the contemporary world, new services are being added. For example, information technology. For example, cyber warfare and biotechnology. So you know what are these mean. Biotechnology will help us to find the disease, cause of the disease in plants, animals, and crossbreeding, everything about biotechnology. Here, new sector, new services are produced. Information technology, that is mobile phones and other requirements at the present state, and cyber warfare or cyber areas. So in this way, new services are being produced here in territory sector. So that is the need of the hour, and it is according to the modern age, more and more services are being produced. So, and later on, many of the people, after getting education and training, they will go to this primary and secondary and tertiary. Mostly they go to the secondary. They wanted to have a job. They wanted to work in an office or in a bank, or they wanted to join the defense or some other areas in territory sector. Many of them do not go to manufacturing. They go to territory sector. So in this way, secondary and tertiary, primary is labor consuming, secondary is also labor consuming. Now territory sector is growing. It is growing. New services are being added to this territory sector, and in future territory sector will also absorb a lot of workforce or labor. So in this way we have learned there are altogether 8 points in this: people as resource. So that's all for today. We'll continue this part again in our next class. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for your attention and your presence. So now that's all for today. We'll meet in the next class.